were taught at school and how we teach our children today is it's all based on understanding now. So the reason that we have the extended edition, which Mrs. Green just showed you, is to make sure children really understand what they're doing. They're not just following a process, they're not just copying the teacher, because that's how I was taught. I didn't know why I was putting little ones everywhere for carrying. I didn't know what I was doing when I had to do long multiplication and put in lots of zeros. I just followed a process. So everything we do in teaching these 4 operations is making sure children really understand what they're doing. I'm going to talk a bit about subtraction first, and we make it clear to children that subtraction could be taking away, or it can be finding the difference between 2 numbers. Taking away, they're totally comfortable with, they do really well at that. When we talk about finding the difference between 2 numbers, they find that quite tricky. Language is really, really important in all areas of maths. Unless they've got the language, unless they understand the language, they will not get very far with maths. We need to always, always be talking about lots and lots of different words to do with what we're doing, and we need to make sure we're referencing it all the time so children really understand what it is we're doing. So we don't just say we take away, we say less, we say minus. So children have a real understanding of what subtraction means, and we do that for all the operations. So we start subtraction very much the same way as we do for addition, but obviously the inverse. So for subtraction, we've got some things, whatever they are, counters, dinosaurs, whatever. We've got 7, and we're taking some away. And how many have we got left? And we do lots and lots of that. But we don't do that until children understand what 7 is. There's no point in starting to calculate until they understand what numbers are. So only when they know what 7 is, and they know that it looks like this, that's when we start doing this. Then we do it all practically exactly the same as addition. We don't write anything first of all. Just like addition, once we have got the understanding of taking away as doing this and seeing how much we've got left, then we start to write number sentences. These are number sentences. Hopefully the children talk about writing number sentences. This is a number sentence. Could be any order, any operation, that is a number sentence. Then, just like addition, we move on to our lollipop number line again. And it's a first introduction to a number line, and like Mrs. Green said, it's fantastic because the children combine the actual things with a number line. So it's moving the children on. So we've got 5, I'm going to subtract 2, taking 2 away. How many have I got left? I've got 3. Lots of children with subtraction, they do 5 and then they take away 2 and then yes, I've done it, and they don't know what to put here because they know that they've taken some away, but they don't know what they're looking for. So it's really important we talk about the language. How many have you got left? So then they know it's 3. Then again, just like addition, we move on to the number line without the lollipop. So by now, the children can hopefully do it without apparatus. They're going to be using a number line to count back. So we've got 5, we're counting back 2, we get 3. Then we move on to 2-digit numbers, and our number lines get longer. And just like addition again, we start it off with making sure we use the marked number lines. And this is where place value is so important, because children need to understand that 42 is about halfway between 0 and 100, because it's near 50, and we know 50 is halfway between 0 and 100. So I've got to know it's about here. Also, they've got to know that they're taking away 14, which is a bit more than 10, so they're looking for an answer that's smaller than 42, not bigger. It's all understanding about number. So the way they could do this, they'd find 42 on the number line, and they might first of all count back in ones, 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until they've counted back 14, and the number they land on is 28. Or, once they've got really good at counting back in ones, we look for more efficient ways, because we're trying to make the children quite efficient with their calculation. So how else could we do that? Well, I'm on 42, And we love tens numbers because tens numbers are really easy to add or subtract from, which is why we do a lot of work trying to remember our number bonds to 10, two numbers that make 10. Well, I know if I subtract 2, I get to 40. I know if I subtract 10, I get to 30. That's the 10 more, 10 less Mrs. Green was showing you on the 100 square. I know so far I've subtracted 12, and I know that that 12 is 2 less than 14, so I've got to subtract another 2, which takes me to 28. We don't like to do partitioning with subtraction. Big, big warning. Children love partitioning. They love addition by partitioning. They really get it. They can see the tenths, they can see the ones. We try not to do it with subtraction because this is what they do. I've got 70. I'm going to subtract 30. I've got 2. I've got to subtract 6. Oh, I can't do that. I know, I'm going to do this. 6 subtract 2. And they think, oh, I could just swap the numbers over. Okay, so we have a big chat about how we can't do that because actually the question was to subtract 36. Some children understand that they could do 72 subtract 30 and then subtract the 6 afterwards. But a lot of children don't quite understand that so much, and so we try and say don't do partitioning with subtraction because they do tend to get in a pickle with it. We stick to number lines with subtraction. So when they're really good with a numbered number line, then we start them using blank number lines, just like with the addition. So we've got 0, 54, and we're going to subtract 25. So I might first of all start by subtracting 10, because I'm really good at counting back in tens because I've done it a lot. And then subtract another 10. And then I need to subtract 5, and I'm going to do that in ones because I'm not very good at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We should put subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1. And when the children are first starting out, they're going to mark every number on there. They're going to mark 33, 32, 31, 30, 29. When they get really confident with that, they'll start to do bigger jumps, and they'll all be different. Some children love counting in twos, so they'll start going back in twos. Some can just do the 5 jump back straight away. All children are different. When they get a really good understanding of counting back and the numbers are starting to get a little bit bigger, we start to talk about the difference and how you can actually count on from the smaller number to the larger number to find the difference. And children find that really quite tricky to understand. So I've got on my number line, I've got 73. And I say to the children, I've got to subtract 57. Put 57 there. I'm taking that bit away. That's gone, that's the part I've subtracted. Now I've got to count how many I've got left. This is the difference, and that's what they find quite tricky. So I'm going to count on 3 to get to 60. I'm going to count on 10 to get to 70. And I'm going to count on another 3 to get to 73. So the difference is 16. Lots of them can do this, but then they have real trouble understanding the term difference. It's quite tricky for children. When they do get a really good understanding of the difference, and we do get there because we do lots and lots of practice, then they really understand it, and they don't need to start at 0 because they understand that they've taken away that 37 already. So they start their number line with 37. They know that that's there and it's gone, and they're going to count on to 85. So they do exactly the same. They add on 3 to get to 40. By now they don't need to count on in ones because they're really good and they know their bonds. They know that from 37 you need 3 to get to 40 because they've done so much work on bonds. They're really good at those. Then they can probably do a big jump. They don't need to jump from 40 to 80 in tens. They can do a big jump of 40. So we're trying to teach them, again, to be as efficient as possible. And then they can do a jump of 5 to 85 and 48. Thinking, why did I put these numbers up? then it's exactly the same once we get into 3-digit numbers and then again into 4-digit numbers. They'll do exactly the same. By the time they're dealing with these numbers, they understand difference, they understand the place value of these numbers, and their mental calculations are really quite good, and they understand what they're doing, and that's the key thing. So they might jump on 12 now. They've got a good understanding. They know that from 188 it's 12 to 200. Do a jump of 100. And actually, thinking about year 4s, they'd probably do a jump straight of 154. Okay, and then they'd add that all up. 100, 154, 164, 166. Okay. Then, into year 4, we start looking at decimals as well. And the brilliant thing with a number line is that you can use it with decimals, fractions, time. You can even use it finding the difference between 2 times. The number line is fantastic for that. So you use it exactly the same. I've got to find the difference between 13.8 and 32.4. I've got 32.4. I'm subtracting 13.8. This is the difference. So they do 0.2 to 14. Probably might do a jump of 6 to get to 20. A jump of 10 to get to 30. Then a jump of 2.4 to get to 32.4. And then we teach them to add. This is why they need so much mental addition. Start with the biggest number, 10, 16, 18.4, 18.6. That is how we subtract. And they have gone on a huge journey from R to 4, so I've just shown you in a few minutes, but that takes 5 years. If we're doing well. Then multiplication, again, the vocabulary is so important. We're talking